That way you can use it in 4 years or 2.
I'll come back. Oh, I see.
You're gonna miss us, Kevin.
Yeah,
I know.
most definitely.
What did you do?
Yeah.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna get started. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. For you can stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we take the roll call, please.
Kevin King. Alan Schneider.
Here.
Tom Sexton.
Here.
Lois Schneider.
Here.
Kevin Mills.
I am present.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum and we'll start with approval of the agenda. Any questions or comments on the agenda?
Just like I said earlier, that there were 6:30 is what Lieutenant Chad Ellis is looking like, he's gonna be here, and then sitting here, Brian Belk is running a little late with some car trouble, so those two will get kind of shuffled around there, but nothing,
So
so.
we'll keep the agenda, but just adjust as needed
Yep.
based on when we arrive. So any other questions?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved, and we'll move on to our consent agenda. Any questions on that?
ISIT, is this the final payment?
Yes, that was,
Pardon?
that was the final one, yep.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second
Any discussion?
I have one more question.
Okay.
On the Christmas, the lift for the Christmas lights, is that ×2 basically?
That's for the installation.
Installation,
So what I mean is they'll get that lift to do it?
yeah.
Okay. I just, seems like quite a bit.
It's not cheap.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll take a vote for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next up is our public forum. If anyone wishing to speak in a public forum this evening? All right, we'll continue on then. Item number 6 on the agenda is a discussion on IEDA Community Catalyst Grant.
Yeah, actually, I will introduce Terry Seidel, new owner of 40 West First Street. Terry has submitted, I should have seen the packet, some ideas for, I guess what their vision is for that property. And the IEDA, the Iowa Economic Development Authority Community Catalyst Grant is a downtown revitalization grant put on by the state for this Iowa Economic Development Authority. It is for typically $100,000 for the grant. With that, there is required local match from the property owner and the city participating in it. Let's see, it's 40% of the funds are reserved for communities under 1,000. You'll see some of the information on the fact sheet attached there. A little bit about the actual grant program. There's a pre-application deadline at the end of January. Figured it'd be a good time to kind of bring this forward, just to get a kind of an idea on City Council's willingness to support this project for hopefully an application. So I will say based off of my knowledge of going to trainings for this specific program, this project budget-wise and us being a first-time community applicant, our size kind of makes us a perfect fit for this, where it's currently a vacant property and this has a turnkey business that would go with it. So I think that's a pretty good competitive application. But Terry, I will let you, I guess, if you wanted to talk in the board, mention to the city council about your, grant application.
We're planning
Terry,
on,
what, can you come up to the podium here, if you don't mind?
we're planning on opening a ice cream shop that's called Riverside Scoops and Sweets, and we'll have candy and scoop ice cream, and then hopefully some also baked goods, and things like that. We didn't know about the grant. We were planning on doing this on our own, but then heard about the grant and it sounded like a perfect fit to do this. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Riverside needs an ice cream place. They need, I hope to be a kind of an anchor business downtown and hopefully a catalyst for other businesses to come to town.
Yeah, I can see it doing very well.
Mhm. Main Street would be a good place for it.
So I guess the action items for this, not necessarily tonight, 'cause I think it would be good to have city council. And I'm sure you're gonna talk about potentially having a resolution on here tonight. After discussion with Alan, I think it'd be good for them to be able to look at the plans, and in our first meeting in January, we had that on there to make a formal decision for the application. But I guess the steps ahead of us for the pre-application would be basically a resolution of support. With that would be potentially some kind of match funding that we could discuss of what that could look like. But essentially, I guess what a highly competitive project for, I guess, a $250,000 project, what IDA classified as kind of like their ideal project. 100,000 would come through the grant, and the final 150 would be split between the city and the property owner. So there is in-kind support as well as cash support that could occur. I think at this point, like Terry, you had a specific ask in mind, that would be, I think, beneficial for city council's consideration, but determining if the city would support it and what that would look like would be kind of like the next hurdle, I guess, step in front of this for application.
Do you have an idea of the overall project cost to?
Yeah, 250 was the bid that we had, so we were hoping to apply for the maximum, which is 100 from the grant.
And Terry, can you maybe go into what that scope of work would include?
Yeah, it's complete from where it is now to turnkey is what that 250 includes. So I've got like I said, we had planned on doing this on our own, so we've got the full bid and everything. I don't know if they need to see a copy of that or.
Not right now.
We can provide that.
They have the plans that you showed me, which I guess based off our meeting would be commercial appropriate materials. So commercial doors, windows, lighting, there was a roof work on there as well. And then I asked you about the masonry aspect of it, so for the facade, there is some work that needs to be done on there, which would be included. Then also the full interior renovation as well to get this into a functioning business, which this building has not been functioning for some time, so.
So the first step in the process is a pre-application that we would submit in January.
Yeah.
And the city submits that,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the city is the applicant for it. And then just based off of the scoring guidelines, I personally went through the project and based off of material selection, the fit of the, like, is guess, with the business and the district is in, is it fitting? I think we have a really competitive shot at getting this awarded. Also being a town of under 1,500 and being a first-time applicant, I think we have a lot going for us on this project. That would make it very competitive in the eyes of the judging panel. So based off that, I'm fairly confident we would at least get a shot at the full application, if not have a funding opportunity. So that's ultimately up to the Iowa Economic Development Authority's judging panel for this, but
Anybody have any?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind this, but I think we're putting the cart before the horse. I'm talking personally. We had, the background of this was the burned out building. We had a legal document, which was not honored. And we, as a council, I was never included in making a decision to, I mean, why did we do a contract with the person that owned it? If we, I mean, to me, a legal contract should have been honored. And if it's not worth the paper it's written on, then what are we sending a message for the next contract we do? This came, we got it in a weekly thing that this is what we're doing, but I don't think it came to the council to be discussed. I don't know.
I'm gonna agree with you too. We had a contract with the owner of this building for what he was needing to do in order to acquire it. Nothing was done with it. In my understanding, this was supposed to return to the city if he failed. So how can this property have been sold?
so this would be separate building owner. We took it into, I guess,
Well, and that's what I mean. I don't wanna, but
make that.
that should have came up during the abstract. Was it filed?
Yes. So,
That should have came up at the time, and I'm just saying, I think it's something that, as a council member, we should have a discussion, and like I said, to me, we pay to have a legal agreement with the lawyer. And then it's just, I don't think that shows,
so the discussion with Dan on this is, so the reversion clause is if the property is in possession of the owner. So in this case, they don't meet the terms of the agreement, we can claw it back. Technically, because they breached the contract, we still could go through litigation, and unfortunately, that would bring you to Madnet, which would claw the, I guess, that would come a litigation between you and Chief Investments potentially, but we could get the property back to that way. I don't think it's worth us causing that kind of mess to ultimately get the same outcome that we're trying to get, where you have all
but I'm just saying, what is a document, the legal document that we paid to have written to protect us?
Well, before we get into that, I don't think we're done with that possible path at this point, are we, Cole? There's
No, I
some
just-
information.
I got nothing.
We're not aware of that. I'm just saying, I think that this information has not come to council as a whole, whether it be a closed session or something. Because I think it's actually up to the council to make the decision. At this point, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but
There will be a point where the council will be able to give their final decision. I guess what I would say is, what is the point of us involving an attorney to get an opinion on whether or not it makes sense for the city to continue on with this process if we're not gonna listen to that as well? And that we're still working on that.
well, I don't know what the update is, that's what I'm saying, so.
And we are still working on that, is what I was saying.
But
So there will be more information, hopefully by the time we get to the next meeting and we discuss this again, we can.
But my thing is, how do you apply for a grant when it may be tied up? I'm
We're
just,
not applying for a grant tonight, so we can bring that up, we can have that discussion on the agenda at our next meeting as
Okay.
well.
I'm just voicing my opinion.
I guess my opinion is our ultimate goal is to get something in that building that's going to happen.
I think you should make sure it goes legally though. I think there's a few scratches in the system that need to be talked about.
Yep, and I understand that as well, I think we don't want to cause ourselves more issues by pursuing something that ultimately is gonna cost the city more money too. So I totally get where you're coming from, that you wanna see the agreement upheld. But if the attorney is telling us that that is probably not the route to go, if we wanna do what's in the best interest of the city, then we need to listen to that as well.
I don't know where it will all go, but hopefully Dan, our attorney, will be in your meeting and can explain to the council, whoever's on here, what happened with that contract, why there were loopholes, maybe to let it not follow what the original intent of this council was to understand, because I don't think it went that way.
Truthfully, we could, is it worth paying our attorney to come here to?
If there's
pass
a
on
learning
information that was
experience
held?
that can come from it, I would say, yeah, because we had a contract that didn't follow original course unless it can be discussed and understood why it didn't happen that way. I mean, I asked you, I kind of gave you my opinion, Cole, and asked for a closed session and have a lawyer here and everything. I didn't get any response, and I'm not a very pushy person, so I didn't follow up on that, but I really think it needs to be followed up on somewhere in an understanding, because when you got a lawyer that writes you a contract, if it doesn't hold water, that's pretty much all I got to say.
As Alan mentioned, the conversations with our attorney are still active. It's not a closed case. There was an update today, which I guess I don't really feel comfortable in this meeting going into the details of that, but I will send out an update on Friday. I agree with that, with what we're stating on it. So it's potentially some good news, but
Communication is always good, and there's learning experiences to be had.
as far as the topic for Terry tonight, is there any questions? That ownership situation aside, is there anything about the project or plans, anything like the grant that would be helpful for that decision?
Any clarification or anything you might need from us or me?
I think we'd welcome any business to town. I think we just had a little hiccup in our system that be nice for everybody to understand why.
Nothing personal.
No, we didn't know about it either until after closing, so.
Like I said, good luck.
All right, opening. Thank you, Terry. All right, we're ready for Washington County Sheriff's Department report.
All right. For Riverside, last month, we had 82 calls for service. I'm sorry, 84. You had 44 traffic stops. Same time last year, we had 92 calls for service. New things from the sheriff's office, we hired a kid from, originally from Lone Tree. He's certified peace officer in Grinnell. He must be back down towards the Lone Tree area, so he's come back down this way. Blake Honeycutt is his name. He'll be starting with us in January. And Daniel Long is a kid from Rubio. And we're gonna send him to the academy in January. We'll get him back in April, so we're still filling slots. So it's a work in progress.
No big weather mishaps in our area.
Not like I-80, no, but
That's good.
we're grateful for that.
Yes, very much so.
Chad, the only thing else I can think of is later on our agenda, we're gonna be talking about, snow removal, snow works and parking. That would maybe change some of the enforcement on that side of things. But I guess I'll keep you in the loop on having changes that would take effect. But, I think the biggest thing would just be working with you guys on after snows, on enforcing parking, that sort of thing. But we have some clarification to do before. Sure. Send that to you. Yep, and it's gonna be holding on. Sound good?
You say our ordinances aren't clear enough to citation any of the vehicles that are parked there for weeks on end that were snow plowed around?
Let's talk about that when we get to that agenda item. So,
Any other questions? Right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
thank
Doug.
you.
Thanks.
Y'all be safe out there.
Thanks.
All right, we're ready for our city engineer's report. If you're ready, Brian, otherwise we can.
Just in time, Ryan. Don't sit down.
I think I'm ready. Good evening, everybody. All right. Wellness Center, we have back to you a revised PSA contract agreement on that based on comments we received from the city attorney. I believe we responded to every one of their comments, remarks, and made revisions accordingly. Also provided some additional background on fees for similar projects like that based on comments last time. I think Cole might have done a little bit of research and data there as well, but happy to answer any additional conversations on that as I can.
We included last Friday on some information on fee comparison. So for engineering and architectural work, do some similar projects. So I got some information from Kelowna as well as Mount Vernon, just to figure out on a proportion of the total cost, construction cost, how much were, I guess, engineering, architectural related. As that kind of ends up being a prices change as far as construction costs and materials, also based off of when they were built. But that ends up being a pretty good indicator for cost. And I also included, Kevin, you had a question on the ability to approve this competitive process. I included a section from our purchasing policy that explained, I guess, addressed that concern.
I just still have a problem spending $870,000 on the carrier. I just do.
Yeah, I understand that, I guess. My question would be, how do you feel this is different than what we do for design on other capital projects?
Maybe I didn't catch this before now, you know.
Yeah.
And I understand the city has to have a relationship with their engineer, an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying, Kevin, but I do think it's broke down. It sounds like a lot, but it's broke down individually and stuff, and I do think they've taken good care of us, and I think it's a big, long drawn out process, but this is the total dollars, except for.
No, and my concern is not the asking, it's the procedure we took to get where we're at here. No, I think you guys are gonna find out, that's not a problem.
Kevin, do you feel like this section provided from purchasing policy doesn't apply to this?
I guess that's another problem. I asked for a legal opinion from the attorney. And I would have liked to see all this in writing. If you do that, I wish I would have sent that out to the council.
And I agree with what you're saying, it's from that angle, but I guess we know what we have, because they've been with us, so, I can see it from both sides, but, we can get somebody else that we're familiar with. I think the breakdowns,
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can add to that, Kevin, is it's not uncommon around where the city engineer is doing a larger project like a facility, for instance, something like a shot cabin in North Liberty, you've done that for numerous occasions, city halls and things like that.
they don't go through a separate process. I'm just thinking from the legal side, just to give you a little bit, that our fire station or things like that, they contract out directly, with that representative without going out for other purposes. Not that I'm questioning your question, I'm just saying that it's not uncommon, it does occur quite a bit.
I mean, that would be a competitive process so it would be heavily, qualifications would be the first consideration in that sort of procedure. Pricing is certainly a consideration, but is more secondary in nature, to that. I don't know, I mean, it wasn't clear when Axiom was selected as our city engineer, but I think that was probably a similar process where it was qualification driven and.
Since we don't did interview.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think,
Well, I guess what really scares me about this project is we are underfunded right off the bat. And I don't want to get to the point when we're 90% done and we spend 100% of our money. And this, this ain't gonna be tight.
Yep, that's.
And we gotta pinch every penny.
Well, the concern is whether or not we have a legal right to move forward with it in this manner. If we were to get an opinion from the attorney that everything was okay with that, would that make you more comfortable with it?
I think the other thing is that we bid it out, Axiom has worked with OPN. So I think they work together, so I think economically it might be, because I think it's kind of hard to get an apple to apple since Axiom's been working, with OPN and stuff. I mean, they can give us a bid and have all this stuff, but I think that the ongoing relationship is gonna be easier for Axiom when like I said, I can see what you're asking for, but I just question if it's gonna be a whole lot cheaper with all that needs to be done. The whole bit. I don't know.
I'm gonna go along with this, but in the future through this whole project, when there's information available, I think the council needs to get it. It doesn't have to wait till Friday's update.
I agree with Kevin on that, 'cause sometimes I just feel like we're not getting, we're getting bits and pieces, and it's kind of hard to, so. Do we need to make a motion or a motion then?
We do have a resolution for this. Resolution 2025-85.
That's on page. Oh, there it is. No,
Let's see over. Yes, there's more.
2. Oh, here it is.
It's on page 43.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2025-85, resolution to approve professional services agreement with Axiom Consultants for engineering services for the Riverside Wellness Center.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? No second? Anyone else?
I got a small comment to make, is it now or when, if you were to go to a vote, I just have my own opinion to make.
We'll take it now.
Nothing personal to anybody. I think it's probably a great project. You guys have always done great work. I'm just not on board with the whole thing because of the overall cost for Riverside. I would like to see a little bit of a smaller wellness center that is more affordable. But that's about where I stand, so I'm only one.
Okay, any other comments? If there's nothing further, this motion will die for lack of second, so any Guess any final thoughts on this? All right. We will continue on with the agenda then.
So to get this to a point where there'll be consideration on it, like, it seems like you would like opinion from our city attorney on the approval of this. Is there anything else we can get that would be? I think that's something I'm a little confused.
Well, I gotta say something else on that. I sent you an email Tuesday, Wednesday, thinking there would be plenty of time to get that information. That's why I did it. Because I asked you to give me the information earlier, so instead of waiting till Friday, so. I don't ask for much when I do, I really want it.
Well, back on the information, we should have been getting these agendas by the midweek like we're supposed to be, not on Fridays.
It's hard to ask questions when we haven't had it till Friday evening, and then, yeah, you can ask them Monday, but, yeah, I agree, it's happened the last 2 or 3 times, and then one day it wasn't until 6:30 or 7, so the office is closed to ask questions, so.
I agree, but I will also say, we've been doing our best for a long time and trying to keep up with everything, and adding Carrie's been great, but, you know, it kind of feels like we're always playing from behind, and keeping up with everything is a challenge. So like, I appreciate your understanding of that as well, but I mean, this is something, I know it's equally as much an issue as it is for us, because the last thing Stephanie and I want to do is be here at 6:30 on a Friday night trying to get a packet out that we wanted to have out on Wednesday. But I think what would be helpful from the city council perspective for us too is just keeping in the, I guess having an active conversation on how can we both work together to get to that point, because I think there is a, how can I put it, but
And if we're gonna have this conversation, let's have it later on in the agenda during the city administrator's report. Let's let Brian continue on with his report. I guess I will go back to Cole's question because I don't think we got an answer on that. What does the city council want to see be able to take this to a vote?
Yeah, and I guess I'll follow up, is there still chances moving forward? Because we've continued to do work based on a couple meetings ago where you asked us to do so at risk. And so I'm gonna have to halt work here. We've been putting time and money into it, so.
I think I made it clear what I want.
The opinion of the attorney will be sufficient. Okay. Anything else?
Are you okay with the bid then, or do you, I'm just saying, not to like further, did you want other bids, or?
No, if the attorney says this is fine, I'll be fine with it.
So
Okay.
can you do me a favor and can you make a motion to that effect that we'll table this?
Okay, I mean, I'm
So we can possibly move ahead with it on the next agenda.
to table the professional services agreement with Axiom. Pending the, getting information from the attorney, and does anybody else have anything?
No, I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Let's continue on with the rest of the engineer's report, Brian.
Sure. So in this Hall Park pickleball, I think we talked about this last time. We have received information regarding warranty from DNN and Bowker on fencing, which was an additional 15-year warranty. We do have a engineer's report in there for closeout and acceptance of the project, as well as 2 pay applications, which was the payment for the remaining bid item work, as well as the retainage. We fully understand, obviously, and have noted before that we have seating that will need to be addressed again in the spring, which is also covered under the general contractor warranty, and they're aware of that as well. And we note that in the report. Happy to answer any questions there.
Okay, when the 15-year warranty
Yeah.
is gonna be the upkeep of the spray paint stuff. I mean, what I'm saying, they're gonna honor,
Yeah.
you feel comfortable with what they're gonna honor.
Yes, yeah, they've spelled it out even beyond what, yes, I do.
Okay,
So I would have sent that letter out from Dean and Fence that explicitly mentions the.
Yeah, it calls out.
For that. Other painting.
he works with them, I
That
will
was-
make sure he.
My primary concern that I think I had bothered Brian about a few too many times on.
Okay, so we did have a resolution for pay application number 5 for consideration here. Any questions or discussion on that?
Let's see, the number.
Oh, which resolution number?
Yeah,
We need 85 because we didn't use 85 for PTA. Is that the number you're looking for, Kevin? Is that even number that what you're referring to?
yeah,
Okay.
I make a motion to, approve the application number 5 in Docker Chemical Mechanical for work completed on Hall Park football project in the amount of $21,340.
I'll say